Hi there, welcome to this week's basketball edition of The Huddle. I'm reporter Ruth Lang here with sports editor Mike Brown. Now Mike, it's still early in the season, but some of the boys teams have already gotten off to a really great start. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, Ruth, having played basketball, you'd know this as well as anybody, Ruth, but Salem's off to a 3-0 start. Ryan Bush had 31 points in their big win over West Branch last Friday night. Alliance has another good team coming back from its 23-1 team from a year ago. And Marlington, who has Lucas Struble, the MVP in the league, is off to a good start as well. So those are some of the teams that have really played well early.
Mm-hmm. And West Branch was actually defeated, although the other two teams that you mentioned, Marlington and Sebring, won. Maybe tell us why. Why was it that you think the West Branch boys just couldn't pull it out?
Well, West Branch has a new head coach this year, Lou Celeroli, who was their coach years ago and came back. This is his second stint as their head coach. And they're kind of young. They've got some height, but they've had some trouble with miscues, turnovers, and things like that. They lost at Canfield on Tuesday night and had a lot of turnovers in that game. So, and Sebring has a team where they lost a lot of their starters. They lost, I believe, 4 of their starters from last year's team. But they've got one very good player back in Dylan Mick, who's done a good job with them, and they recorded a win on Tuesday night against a pretty good Columbiana team.
Who have been some of the surprise teams so far?
Well, like I said, I think Salem is. If I had to pick one team, I think it's Salem. They've got a lot of kids back from last year's team, and I look for them to be a real player in the NBC in boys basketball this year. I mean, they have just blitzed everybody they've played so far, and they've got some really talented players, like I mentioned with Ryan Bush, and I think they're going to be a real factor. Carrollton is going to be very good. They were a young team last year, have a lot of kids back this year. Alliance will be very good. I think Marlington's going to be very good. When you have Lucas Struble, the MVP of the league, coming back, they're going to be very good again. So it should be an interesting race as far as how that plays out. Who's going to win it this year? There's really 3 or 4 teams, the NBC boys, that could win the league title this winter.
Now, is offense key there or defense key there for this?
Well, I think in the NBC and boys in particular, you've got a lot of teams that like to get out and run, and they're good at it. They can score a lot of points. Alliance is one of those teams. Marlington's so good. I mean, they've got such a player in Struble, and they've got Sean Kirk is another good player for Marlington. So Marlington's got a lot of talent. They probably can do both. They could play half court. They can get out and run with it a little bit. So those are some pretty good basketball teams.
Turning now to Friday night, there's going to be some big league matchups around the area. Will you want to outline those for us, please, Mike?
Yeah, I think 2 of the bigger ones Friday night. You've got Alliance and the Louisville Leopards are going to play Friday night in Harry Fales Gymnasium. And anytime the Leopards and the Aviators get together in boys basketball, it's a good game. I'd be surprised if that wasn't a pretty tight game that comes right down to the end. The one that really intrigues me Friday night, Ruth, is Marlington goes on the road to Salem. And as I said a couple times here, Marlington and Salem, I think, are 2 of the best teams in the league. That game could be a high-scoring game. It could be a low-scoring game. Just depends on how that plays out. But both those teams have the ability to dictate the tempo of the game. And I'll be anxious to see who wins that game. I really cannot pick a winner. And those are the kind of fun games you like to go to because you don't know how it's going to play out or who's going to win.
Turning now to girls basketball, there was a huge game in the NBC last week.
Yeah, there sure was. West Branch went to Louisville. West Branch was undefeated, coming off a big win over a Canfield team that got to the regional last year. West Branch had dumped Canfield on a Wednesday night and had to turn around and go to Louisville on a Saturday. And Louisville lost 2 of its top players from its NBC title team from a year ago. So a lot of people, I think, were thinking that West Branch would probably, coming off the win over Canfield, might have would probably get a win at Louisville. It didn't work out that way. The Louisville girls had a tremendous effort. And they're not going to give up their title easily this year, I'll tell you that. Louisville won that game by 12 points and really dominated that contest. So I really think the NBC and girls basketball, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out because you've got West Branch is still going to be a big factor in the league race. And I think West Branch feels they have a team that could get to the regional this year in Division II basketball, and I do too. Louisville, which lost 2 key players, but they have that tradition, and until somebody knocks them off, they're the defending champion. So they're going to be a big player in the girls' race too. So that's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out.
And can you tell us about some of the other teams in the immediate area?
Yeah, Alliance, it was good to see Alliance get their first win. They went to Youngstown Liberty over a week ago got their first win for Lee Hood, who's the new head coach of the Alliance girls. He's trying to build a program. Alliance is extremely young, and they're rebuilding, but Lee's doing a good job. You know, he's trying to show some structure in that program, and I think that's going to pay dividends down the road. And then the Sebring girls, they're off to a 2-4 start. The Sebring girls don't have a single senior on their roster this year. That's how young they are.
That could hurt them a
Yeah,
little bit.
yeah, a little bit.
And you want to have some of that maturity.
Right, absolutely. And I think it has early, but I think, you know, Coach Joe Eaton's doing a good job with them, trying to bring them around. And I think, you know, they'll be very competitive as they gain more experience through the season. I think they'll be very competitive.
Will you tell us about some of the games that are coming up this weekend? What can the fans expect?
Well, in girls basketball, we've got a couple immediate area matchups this weekend. On Saturday, the Marlington girls go to West Branch. Now, the Marlington girls are really young this year. They lost 3 tremendous players from that team they had last year. Marlington had a really good girls basketball team last year. They lost 3 talented players from that team. They will go to West Branch on Saturday, and West Branch is coming off West Branch played Cardinal Mooney on Wednesday night, so when we tape this, you know, West Branch hadn't played Cardinal Mooney yet, but West Branch was coming off a loss last Saturday at Louisville, so that was, I'm sure that kind of got their attention, and they have to turn around. They'll play Marlington on Saturday afternoon. That'll be an immediate area matchup there. And then the other matchup on Saturday, we'll have the Alliance girls playing the Minerva girls basketball team. So Alliance will hopefully continue to improve there. Minerva girls have some talented players back, and you know they could be a factor in that NBC girls race this year as well. So those are a couple of the big ones on Saturday.
That does it for this week's edition of The Huddle. Make sure to check us out online, www.the-review.com, and hopefully we'll see you at the game this weekend.